joining this session. And the name of this session or this training program is going to be the happiness advantage, one of my favorite topics as well. Now, before we could introduce, let me also quickly introduce myself. I will not read everything there. My full name is Primrose Jasmin. Remember me as Jasmine, that would do. I have round about almost 19 years of experience in learning and development and training, and I love topics around mental well-being and health. I'm also from the background of psychology. So that's very briefly about me. I would also like to know about people who have logged in. If you can share your name and what do you do briefly, that will be very, very nice.
So hi Jasmine, I'm Vinay, and this topic I'm basically also a leadership trainer and coach and business consultant, and this topic is also very close to my heart. And we as an organization in the NGO have done a lot of research on happiness and what exactly happiness is. Even the Harvard talks about happiness is the first and important part, and rest will follow. So I'm very curious to know your thoughts and your presentation, and looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Vinay. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you are also a person who's from the same lines which I'm going to talk about. We would love to hear your insights as well as and when we interact. Thank you so much. All right. I think we have Bhopal in
Hi,
also.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Hi, hello, good evening.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Vinayji. Hi, Shabana.
Hello,
So,
Bhupal.
yeah. So my name is Bhupal, and I am a compliance professional working with corporates since past 16 years. I was associated with this forum in 2020, and since then I keep on attending programs, and these are obviously very, very useful for us. So yeah, here am I.
Okay. That's very nice. Also believe in this principle that learning is a never-ending process. So I'm
Yeah,
glad that you are here to learn with us. Thank you so much.
thank you.
You're welcome. And this is going to be almost a 35 to 40-minute session. And after that, we will keep it for Q&A. And in between the session also, I have placed a lot of thought-provoking questions. And you can feel free to interact and share your knowledge as well. And one more expectation would be that throughout the session, we would use the lens of the information which we are discussing here, how relevant is it to you? Is it useful or not? And that's the lens you can use rather than thinking, is this information right or wrong? Because what happens in our brain often is we think about right and wrong. And that's how most of us are programmed. So the expectation for this session would be look at the concepts and think if this is going to be useful to you, relevant to you, and then with that thought process, you can look at every information which is going to come forward. Can we live up to that expectation?
Yeah,
Wonderful. All right. So let's get started. The agenda is pretty precise. We will talk about why happiness advantage. When I say that, where does it come from? And then we'll talk about an interesting concept called positive optimism. And we will see three ways to cultivate positive optimism. And we would also have some reflective questions about what we discussed towards the end of the session. Now, this term is evolved from a book called Happiness Advantage, The Happiness Advantage, which was written by Sean Acker. And in that, he says that when a person is happy, okay, the brain releases dopamine and all the learning centers are open and the person is very aware. Hence, the productivity goes up by 31%, and especially in the profession of doctors as a profession, they will be able to make right diagnosis, and it is almost 19% higher than the normal state. So this is a fact which has proven that happiness is definitely an advantage to all of us. So I liked the title, so I've picked it up from there. So I thought I'll also give a background of why this topic. I will stop by and ask you all a question. Has anybody come across this book? Have you read this book?
No, not me.
Okay, all right. This is a good book to read. Like, if your time permits,
Yeah,
you all can
I've
have a
heard
look
about
at
this
it.
book. Yeah, I've heard about this
Yeah,
book, and
yeah,
I've got some insights also in this book. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And in this book, especially, he talks about a lot of research which is done by Harvard as well. I think Vinay mentioned that in the beginning. Is that right?
Yeah,
You spoke about
absolutely.
Harvard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. He spoke about Harvard research in this book. Yeah. No. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Now, um, here you don't have to share the moments in your life. It's just that I have a couple of questions. You can just think of the moment and keep it in your mind. And towards the end, I will ask you a question. Only for that you're going to answer. But you don't have to necessarily share the sad moment in your life. So with that note, what is the most sad moment which has ever happened in your life? You don't have to relive it, but just think about that moment and remember or try to recollect if it is coming up for you. Just have it in your mind. That is enough. That is one. And what is the most happiest moment in your life? All right. Again, you can take 10, 15 seconds and try to recollect the most happiest moment in your life as well. Have you tried to recollect both of this in your mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And may I ask, which one were you able to quickly remember? What topped your mind immediately? Was it the sad moment first or the happiest moment? Or let me rephrase my question. Did any of it take some time to recollect?
Yeah. Your tongue goes to the to the teeth which is broken.
Absolutely.
So that's the answer to my question. To your
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Vinay, correct? Yeah, Vinay, you actually conveyed the point which I had in mind as well. So most of us, okay, not all of us, most of us are programmed in such a way that we are able to think about the sad moments, the negativity for a longer time than the happy moments. So recollecting it also becomes easier for us. But then when we have to think about something really, really which made us happy, it becomes slightly difficult. I wouldn't say like it's not possible, but then there is a slight lag between these two. All right. Now, why am I asking this question? I'll reveal that to you very, very shortly. Before that, have you come across this term called positive optimism?
Yeah. Yeah.
Optimism is
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
but what is positive optimism?
Yeah, so if you allow me to share,
Yes.
and so when 2020 started, and there were a lot of incidents of positivity, which there were a lot of people who found COVID positive. Things are not really very happy moments.
Yeah.
Then this Mevin came up with a concept called consciously positive. And I was wondering what exactly do you mean by consciously positive? So it's like basically then I clarified in my talks. I was also used to be one of the speakers in Maven. That when you basically are conscious about or aware about the positivity. So when you talk about positive optimism, so what I think
Yeah.
is more to do with optimism, but with a complete clarity and awareness. So that's something
Hmm.
I talk about positive optimism, because when you are optimistic, somewhere deep down you are not really sure and not really happy. Not you're negative about it, but you're optimistic just for the sake of it, so that you attract optimistic things. So
Hmm.
this is when you talk about positive optimism. I believe it's all about being aware about your optimistic activity.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Vinay, for sharing. Will one more person logged in as well? Would you like to share your thought on what do you think is positive optimism? Have you come across this term?
So, no, Jasmine, I think, this is the first time I'm kind of hearing this, but I think I can make a guess that, when probably, we are optimistic of certain things, and the outcome of that if is positive. So for me, that is a positive optimism. But I am wondering, because optimism is something will always be positive, right? I
Mm,
don't know. I'm just thinking through, because it's, let's say if my job is not good right now, or
mm,
ABC is not good, so I will be optimistic that maybe after 6 months things will be fine.
mm. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a very vague guess I am making. Yeah, of this.
Okay. Bhopal, thank you so much for sharing your insight as well, because this is a learning platform. We can interact and share our perspectives because
Hmm.
perspectives are different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going with what is mentioned in the book. So, optimism, yes, is being positive, and positive optimism, as like some of you rightly mentioned with examples. Let's assume there is a signal and the traffic is pretty bad, and there are two people who are in that particular signal. There is one person who's frustrated, who is like really irritated that he's getting late and he's restless. And there is another person who just looks at it and thinks, okay, this is not under my control. All right, let me just wait. And I'm sure, like, the traffic will subside eventually. Now, both of these people are facing the same situation, but the mindset which they have, the attitude which they have, differentiates them in handling the situation. So, that perspective taking actually brings in positive optimism in a person. So, the reality stays the same, the challenges come in life, but are we able to look at problems as opportunities and challenges as chances? So that perspective taking is called as positive optimism. Does that make sense?
Yes, understood.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now that brings us to another question. Can we be happy all the time?
So my answer is no.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good question to
Mm.
ponder. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Let's assume I'm watching a comedy, series, or maybe I'm watching random jokes on YouTube, or I'm planning to catch up with one of my friends who makes me laugh all the time. All these things, can it make me happy all the time, or can it make us happy all the time?
Hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
One thought came to my mind because I mean I don't want to disturb you in the flow if you
No,
allow
no,
me to
it's
speak.
absolutely fine because see, this is an interactive session. Shabana knows me. I have a lot of questions and I love to listen. So please go ahead. Yeah.
So you know what I believe, and what in my experience or in my journey, there has been lots and lots of ups and downs, and specifically in the area of my health, things have been not that great, and that was making me sad. That was making me frustrated at times. That was making me lose a lot of assignments, and then the circle went on and on. Now, at the same time, as Pupal also mentioned to some extent, it was actually talking about the hope. So there was an underlying hope that things would definitely get better, right? That is one. Now, when I talk about these two perspectives, and then I think about the deeper part of me, which is happy all the time. Like I'm not
Hmm.
saying the personality or the identity or the ego which is happy all the time. I'm talking about who we really are is happy all the time, because somewhere deep down the line that we are in the state of happiness. We are, when you talk about a natural state, is basically happy, and this is what Howard University also had studied, and the book that you talked about also speaks about it, that our natural state is being happy.
Hmm.
But yes, when you talk about our ego and personality and our preference, that talks about our preferences, our choices in life, our expectations in life. So when you talk about those perspectives, which are the facets of ego and personality, that actually is not making us happy all the time, because we expect a lot and something doesn't happen as per expectations. We
Mm,
expect that some my wife is going to speak in a good manner and she doesn't, so that makes us sad. So
mm,
but deep down the line, when there is an acceptance of feeling, oh fine, she must be upset, or probably things are not really great for her, so then we get into that state of natural state of happiness, which is who we are really are. So that's something that I really want to share here. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that insight with us, Vinay, because you spoke more about acceptance, like when we expect and that doesn't happen, and then momentarily we fall into that thought of unhappiness, and then accepting that situation, the person as they are. When we place empathy there, or maybe perspective taking there, then we come to a conclusion, okay, it's all right. So that's what you have shared with us, and thank you so much for sharing that insight. Now, as Vinay has rightly mentioned, and I'm also going to share with you all, positive optimism is not the rejection of reality. So something is happening around you, and we are going to sit there saying, oh, this is not happening to me, that is not what is positive optimism. Positive optimism is accepting what is happening around us, because we have a lot of emotions, an array of emotions. We are sad, we are happy, we are frustrated, sometimes we are excited, sometimes we are curious, so on and so forth. But in a state where things are not going the way you expect it to, and at that point of time, are you in a mindset where you think this shall also pass? Or a person is not treating you well, are you able to look at it from a different perspective, as to like it is not against you, it is maybe because they have an unfulfilled need, and that's what is making them to talk in that particular way. So that will help us to not reject the reality, be there, but at the same time embrace positive optimism. So that is the crux of positive optimism. Are you able to relate to this? I remember
So
this.
I think,
Yeah, go ahead,
yes,
please.
I got, yes, I got it, what you are saying. And I'm just thinking through that, connecting this with the real life examples as well.
Mm,
And, sometimes I think acceptance, becomes not very easy.
mm,
So, so I'm just thinking through and just connecting what you are saying with the, real life scenarios and things like that. That how much you can accept or how
mm.
much you cannot accept.
Yeah, and that is decided by who?
I think it's I only. I mean,
Mm,
we only.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
right. So imagine this situation, that one of the days where you were in excellent mindset, and that particular day when you were about to take the paste on your toothbrush, it fell. Okay, and since you were in a very good mindset, you kind of laughed at it. Now consider another day, due to some reason, maybe the previous day or something was eating your brain, you got up in a very, very nasty mood, and then you go to the washroom and then you take the paste and it falls. What would happen now? There will be a trigger,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. Of
And
course, I
then,
agree with you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
even I will just give you one more example. If we
Yes,
have
please.
kids around at home,
Mm, mm,
and if we are at a very happy state of mind and our mood is good, so if they are doing anything which is notorious, so we will laugh, we will enjoy,
mm,
and we will say,
mm,
"Arey wow." But
mm,
if the mood is not good, so
mm,
we will get irritated. Why
mm,
you are shouting, why you are touching this and that.
mm.
Yes, that's there. Yeah.
Yeah. The situation, the external situation was the same. Depending on your mind state, the responses or the reactiveness came out. All right. So their rejection of reality has happened to some extent. That's the reason the state of positive optimism took a back step. Are you able to relate to it now?
So when you are saying that there was a rejection of the reality, so I'm not getting that point.
Yeah. Okay.
In these examples we just said.
Sure. Yeah. So let me take my example. Now, this is something which I analyzed about and realized about myself. Earlier, when I make plans with my friends on a weekend or any other day for that matter, my plan has to go as per my schedule and their schedule if they have agreed upon it. If somebody backs off from the plan, I will consider that as a rejection of me. I will take it very, very personally. All right. However, here later on, when I worked upon, I started to think that what could be the reason that the person is not coming in. When I started exploring that part, I was able to not reject the reality, which was making me angry earlier. I was able to ponder or be curious about the reality and ask the person what made them to back off. That brought me to be empathetical towards them and accepting towards them. And thereby, I was working on my positive optimism and a positive quotient and a positive attitude, is what I would like to say.
Yeah,
So,
understood.
yeah. So, how was I before? And when I arranged my thoughts to this state, it helped me to broaden my perspective to understand others as well. Otherwise, what happened was I took rejection as rejection of me and not my request. That clarity was not there. So
Absolutely.
that's why I would like to call this as rejection of reality. Yes, please go ahead, Vinay.
No, I completely agree with this. And that's what I'm saying. When you say and talk about ego, so it's has to be me. I mean, it's not about my request. So, but when you
Mm,
are beyond ego, you say me is different and my request is different. So that's how you, when you distinct your personality with who you really are, that brings a lot of acceptance within yourself, and that takes off your burden from
yeah.
on your shoulders. Like, oh, I have to do a lot of things, or I have to people have to accept me.
Mm,
Somewhere there's a book also,
mm,
which I don't remember the name, but in this book, the author has clearly written that somehow we as human beings feel that we are entitled to get everything in life. We somehow believe that हमें सब कुछ मिलना चाहिए.
mm,
People have to listen to us, people have to
yeah,
accept us, people have to agree to us. So we somehow have gotten a feeling of a sense of entitlement.
yeah.
And book name is The Subtle of Not Giving Up. I
Oh,
mean, you know
nice.
about.
Mm, mm,
So yeah, so this is something I got present to when you shared this. Thank you.
yeah. You're welcome, and thank you for sharing that book's name as well, because I'm an avid reader, so that helps. All right. So one thing which I would like to acknowledge here with the participants is you're able to relate to it with your real life incidents, and there is a pause where you're thinking, how is this working out for me? All right. So that's the awareness which I would like to drive upon. With that note, let's see three ways to cultivate positive optimism. So far, we were only exploring what it is and what it is not. Now, there might be more than three ways, but then I believe that with the stipulated time frame we have, let's look at three ways, and it's easier for our brain also to remember it. So the first one, before I could go into the solution part of it, how many of you talk to yourself? If not loudly, at least in your mind.
Yeah, so I do that.
Hmm. Do you have dialogues in your mind, words and
I
conversations in your
do
mind?
have dialogues. Many a times I say it out loud as well.
Okay.
Why when I'm alone or when I'm driving in my car. So
Okay.
that gives me, some relief with the
Relief.
problem.
Mm.
Yes, so that is a daily habit for me. I always
Mm.
look forward for, that session with me. I
Oh,
do that.
wonderful. That's your me time with you.
I do that, yes.
All
Whenever
right.
I'm commuting, yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I want to throw a different light here so that I can relate to the topic. What are some of the words which you use when you're upset? Because sometimes when people are upset, they do a self talk to vent out, which you have rightly shared. Or sometimes when people are upset or in a mood where it is completely negative, they say certain pattern of words again and again to themselves. So maybe you can use the chat or you can unmute and talk as well. I leave it up to you. What are some of the words which you use often when you are emotionally upset?
Occasionally, occasionally once a month, I would say, why me?
Yeah.
Now, instead of why me, I said, try me.
That's very nice. Yeah. Rhyming words. Wonderful. Thank you. One of the words which I used to use often was irritating because when today I had a call at 5, I had a call at 6, and both of these calls were with the vendors. Okay. Now, when that did not happen initially, it was a little challenging. I was going into my old mode of, oh my God, I would have used this time for something else. And I was getting into that pattern. But I will tell you how I broke that pattern a little later. But I'm also going to pause by if anyone else wants to share, what are some of the words and phrases which you often use when you are emotionally upset? Are you aware of them?
So all the negative words, maybe I'm not liking it. It's pathetic, and then there are few Hindi words as well. So which has the negative connotation only.
Mm.
So yeah, those are theirs.
Okay. So, would it be right to say that anytime when you become emotionally upset, you don't have to consciously even think, these words automatically come in your mind?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Mm. Okay. All right. So, often we label ourselves also. Sometimes, I don't think I'm worth this. Or I don't think I deserve this. Sometimes when we add I, it becomes even our identity. And we don't even know that these negative words, which we repeatedly say to ourselves, can even create our reality. Okay, because our thoughts are very powerful. And the conversation we have with us are very powerful. Now, for this, I have given a very small tool from the Lights of NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. I'm a master practitioner. So I have picked up a tool called transformational vocabulary. All right. Now, what is this tool talking about is you may have to divide two columns. Initially, you may have to write it down and do it because otherwise the brain will feel very, very resistant towards the change. The old words which you've been often using when you're emotionally upset, you can put it in one column. And every time the challenging situation comes, you're upset, and you are going back to your thought process where the self talk is bringing in that old word. You may have to consciously replace that old word with a new word. Let me say that again. Let's assume I say, oh my God, I'm so irritated when this happens. Instead of using that word in my mind, I may have to consciously replace it with the word disturb. I feel disturbed when this happens. Now, thereby, what would happen is two things would happen. Since you are disrupting your existing thought process with a new word, the old thought process and the pattern or the vicious cycle gets broken. So, the emotional intensity of what you're going through will come down automatically. This will look initially challenging, but once you do it for at least 1 week or 10 days consistently, you would see how differently you are able to handle the same situation. Because, as I said, positive optimism is not about the rejection of reality. Things can go up and down in your life, but are you able to handle it? And that's where transformational vocabulary comes into the picture. I'm going to pause by. Are you able to process this tool?
So essentially, what you are saying, if I say that, you know, it's not happening for me,
Mm,
or I don't want to do that. I can't work like this.
mm,
So because I'm with corporates and also these
mm,
are the words, my mind oftenly says. So
mm.
you're saying that, we can replace the word here.
Yeah.
So
or the phrase
And
itself, I can't do this, is what you're using often, then you
mm,
can go ahead and say, let me see what I can do here. So your mind
yeah.
will automatically replace it with a new word, and your
Mm,
words will manifest into thoughts, and your thoughts into actions, and you will work from your circle of influence and see in that what can you do.
understood.
Mm. Initially, you can
Correct.
carry a small piece of sticky notes or small diary and then consciously write down the words which you are often using and replace them with new words. It need not be a word which you have to be very meaningful about. For example, put off and lost or different words altogether. Yes.
Mm,
Um, but yet I have written it because the purpose is to break the old pattern. All that I have to do is just replace it with another word. In that way, the emotional intensity will also go down because you're breaking the existing thought process of the loop or the pattern of your brain.
So I'm
got it.
reminded of one incident, or probably many incidents of similar
Yeah.
kind.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about 8 years ago when I was with a company who was in a very extraordinary business, but somehow it was not flourishing business. So, but I proposed the director or the CEO that this is how you can strategize. He
Mm.
always uses the word called we are in a very extraordinary and interesting situation.
Mm.
And I was wondering what really he actually means. But
Mm.
then he explained about the losses, the that he was making, the idea that it was not
Mm.
picking up. It
Mm.
was it was shown a very it was a wonderful idea about how to inculcate 21st century skills for students, but it was
Mm.
not picking up across the scale sales teams.
Mm.
So what he used to say at all levels, we are at a very interesting situation.
Mm.
He never say we are in a challenging situation, a difficult
Mm.
situation. He was saying a very interesting situation.
Wow.
So that reminds me of that
Mm.
vocabulary. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. See, words are powerful. Words can even mend the soul. Yeah. So, uh, thank you, Vinay, for recollecting that and sharing it exactly at this moment. That makes a lot of relevance. So when I conducted a NLP workshop and gave this tool and asked the participants to practice it for a couple of weeks and come back to me, a couple of people found it to be very challenging in the beginning because your brain resists change. It is designed to take care of your survival. So when you're trying to change, it will tell you, you stay here. At least you know what will happen. But when you're trying to do something new, it will not like that uncertainty because you don't know what will be the outcome. So initially the resistance will be there. That's why I'm asking you to write down. And then maybe after a week, you can slowly start rehearsing it in your mind. And after that, 2 weeks later, it will become a part of you. Um, Maybe if you're up for experimenting this, you can experiment it for the next couple of weeks. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. Before that, this is from Tony Robbins. This tool was also proposed by him in one of his books called Awaken the Giant Within. He says in that simply by changing your habitual vocabulary, you can instantaneously change how you think, how you feel, and how you live. And Tony Robbins is also a master NLP practitioner. Now, looking at this poster, do you recollect the name? Oh, not the name is right there, but have you seen this movie?
No, I I didn't watch it.
Okay, all right. So this is a Tamil movie, maybe like some of you would have not watched it, but let me make you to concentrate on the choice of words which is written on the poster in English. What is written there?
All is
Especially here.
well, all is
Yeah,
well.
yeah. All
So
right.
yes, so I
Now
think
see,
is it the same movie which is in Hindi, Three Idiots?
yes, Three Idiots, correct. Amir Khan used to
Uh,
be the main person there.
hmm,
The same movie. Thank you for helping me to remember that movie, or else I would have put that poster as well. A couple of posters would have made sense. Yeah. Yeah, the same one. Okay. So the point is now the second way using which you can cultivate this positive optimism as a trait or a quality is to be grateful, because gratitude is that one key which can open a lot of other blessings for you. So many times what happens is like, we think about what is not there in life. But then if we have to make a list of what we have against what we don't have, the list of what we have will be definitely longer. And health benefits of gratitude is also listed down on the left side, and how to show gratitude is also listed down on my right side. Yeah. So giving out compliments, making a list of what you have, volunteering in your community, do some random acts of kindness, as simple as smile. What I do personally in my life is I maintain a gratitude journal where in a week, minimum 3 times, I write about what am I grateful about. Sometimes I even write about what I want and I write as if I already received it. So that becomes my manifesting journal also, right? But I wouldn't want to deviate from the topic. But coming back to the gratitude journal, every week, minimum 3 times, when I write that, it makes me feel so positive. And I go through my gratitude journal sometimes and I think when all these things have happened, there is no scope for me to even think about this challenge because this challenge comparatively is very, very small. So again, positive optimism is highlighted there where I don't reject the reality, but I just think about what had happened in the past and think about it in the lens of being grateful. And it brings in a very different perspective for me to look at the current reality. Now I'm going to pause by, does anyone else practice saying gratitude or gratitude journal or anything else which can help you to stay in that zone of gratitude?
Myself, yeah.
Wonderful. What do you do? Do you write?
Uh, I I volunteer in my community with yeah, I do small random acts of kindness. I make a list of things I'm grateful for through
Okay.
hypnotherapy, and I give out compliments and I
Wonderful.
smile.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have almost like, checked the complete list. That's nice.
So, thank you for sharing, Rajmin. In my case, when I see, except for two, which am very poor and probably lazy in writing it. So, except for the number two, I do this kind of things very, very unconsciously.
Mm,
So, but yes, at times I also do some things consciously because I often give compliments to people
mm,
immediately before
mm.
any delay.
Yeah.
I I am already the part of the NGO that I
Okay.
spoke about. I
Mm,
volunteer there, and I make sure that I do one at least one or two acts of kindness. So
mm,
I ensure I write somewhere also.
mm, mm.
And smiling is
Wonderful.
the other thing that that I often do because the kind of work that I do is in
Mm,
the area of real estate.
yeah.
So so I have to smile all the time. Yeah, but yes, it's not about it's actually about the optimistic smile that I always
Yeah,
do. But yes,
absolutely.
this gives me a reminder to consciously practice number two as well. Yeah.
One of the reasons why I sometimes request people to not often, like if you're a person who doesn't like to write much, you can write occasionally because multiple senses are involved. You are writing, so your eyes are looking at the words, your hands are moving, your brain is registering the word which you are writing. And if you're going to read it out, at least in your mind also, that also kind of reiterates it. So when multiple senses are involved, it becomes even more powerful. That's the reason when people say that when you have to write down your goals. So that's the same logic for this as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it makes a lot of
Jasmine, I would like
sense.
to add here.
Yes, please.
Um, so for me, I think this is the takeaway, and I was just listening to Vinay ji also, and to you. I think I was practicing gratitude in a very different way, And
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to practice this from today, that complimenting other people, and also volunteer in your community and do small random acts of kindness. So I was not doing these things very frequently or consciously.
Mm,
For me, I thought, gratitude is that, yes, if I have a house, if I have a secure job, and I'm being thankful for that, that is obviously
mm,
one part of the gratitude. But I think this
mm,
is also very important. For example, if my parents are taking care of my children,
mm.
it's if I compliment, or if be thankful to them for this,
Yeah.
in a verbal way. Sometimes
Yes.
we feel that, okay, it is within us and there is
Mm,
no need to express, but I think it is
mm.
important to show gratitude, to express
Yeah.
gratitude also. Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
something this is a takeaway for me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And thank you so much for calling it out as a takeaway and telling us as well. I think you have already started to sound grateful about what you have got in life. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, one aspect which I want to add, when you spoke about your parents, um, this is a thought which many of the people have shared with me in my training sessions, where they think, why should I say thank you to my family? When I say thank you, I'm
Yeah,
alienating them. They are mine. Like, why should I even be formal with them? And I tried to sensitize them, saying, this might be your thought, this might be your definition, but when you say thank you to your parents, or when you just use different choice of words and say, you really made my day, since you were taking care of my children for 2 hours, I was able to finish this. Thank you so much. So that makes their day also. They might, initially say, oh, you don't have to thank me and all that, but in their mind, they'll feel happy. All right.
correct.
So even my daughter, when she does, like, maybe she picks up something and gives me, I say thank you, and it has become a part of our culture in my family. So that's a very good point. You have taken it as a key takeaway, and I encourage you to practice it and let us know some other session how did it work for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, can we not necessarily write down, but can we think two things which has happened in the recent past about which you're grateful about? If you want to voice it out, you can voice it out as well. One or two things.
The biggest thing that I am grateful for is my parents and my caregiver, and the gift of laughter yoga. Today is
Yeah.
30th anniversary of laughter yoga,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
I would say, what would I do without laughter yoga? And the thing that I'm grateful for is I'm was able also to inspire others with my courage through hypnotherapy, and the fact that I won Miss Beautiful Smile for Miss Amazing Malaysia last year was a very commendable effort.
Wonderful.
So
All
therefore,
this because of
I'm
gratitude.
I'm
Yeah.
proud of myself, and I am enough, and I am constantly learning, and I'm constantly achieving my goals slowly but surely. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Pretty profound, because we are talking about the happiness advantage. We are talking about positive optimism, and how gratitude can contribute to that is what we are talking about. And she has already shared few things with us. Would anyone else wants to share? Maybe one thing which you're grateful about per person.
So I think recently I was not well. In fact, few family members were not well. So I was
Mm,
genuinely quite grateful that I have, access to good medical care,
mm,
and so I was very grateful for that. I can think of this recent one.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
I remember when I went for a conference to Mumbai. I think 10 days ago. When I returned, I was not well. And that's when I realized it was a reiteration of realization itself, where I thought when my health is down, I was not able to think of anything else. And then I started ensuring that I write in my gratitude journal, thank you for my health. Otherwise, health is taken as a normal thing. Oh, it has to be there. No, that's a normal checklist thing. It was considered as a default. But after that incident, I started realizing you being normal in a day and having your usual routine itself the biggest grateful thing which you can have in your life. So I'm just sharing my
Mm,
part.
I agree with you.
All right, wonderful. Now the last one is the most important one. That's the reason I've kept it towards the end. Setting healthy boundaries will also help you to enhance your optimism towards life. Now, before we could jump into the um, insights of this, can one of you tell me what is your definition of a boundary? Boundary means what for you?
So from a professional context, I need to draw a line when, a colleague is approaching me and he or she has some sort of expectation which is beyond, my area of work.
Hmm.
And let's say if my plate is already full, so if somebody is throwing some more tasks, so I should set some boundaries and say no. I
Hmm.
think this is for me. And one more thing which I realized recently, with your family also,
Hmm.
when you are not at a very good state and you are exhausted, you are tired, so then you should take out time for yourself. You should heal yourself, and then so that you can contribute to your family again. So
Hmm.
these things are boundaries for me.
Absolutely. And you have shared it in a very, very practical aspects. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, again, the incident which you shared, Bhopal, right? Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, Bhupal, yeah.
Bhopal. So, remember in one of the incidents you mentioned when children are playing, sometimes it's fine, but when we are not in a good mindset, then it becomes a disturbance. And at that point of time, if you are exhausted that particular day, doing what you said now would support you, would to create that boundary, because the children also sometimes have to know that when dad is very tired, um, he might take some time before he could come back and play to us, or maybe when he's taking a small nap, I may have to be quiet. So setting that boundary will also benefit both the parties.
Correct.
Okay. So these are some things which I've given on the list. There can be more than this, but I've just differentiated what is not our job and what is our job so that we will know where to create a boundary. Because boundaries are always confusing because they're thin lines and we do not really draw them. It's just that we have to make the others sense that, and we should also be aware of that. So, giving a clarity on what is not your job and what is your job, I thought might support you. So, I have listed down few things. The first one is it is not our job to heal others. You can influence them, support them, but then at the end of the day, it also becomes the other person's accountability to go ahead and heal themselves. And pleasing others at your expense, for example, in the corporate example which Bhupal said, if the colleague is going to dump all the work on you, and if you have this thought of pleasing people and you don't want to say no, obviously you will extend your entire day, you will overwork, and that is not a boundary. So continuously compromising and changing yourself to others' liking, all this is definitely not your job, especially when you're planning to set a boundary. So, what can support you to create a healthy boundary? You can heal yourself, you can listen to your needs, you can respect yourself, you can set healthy boundaries, which protects your energy to be precise, and then Say no when it is not in alignment, and be mindful with your yes also. I'm going to pause by and I'm going to ask you all, do you have any other ideas using which you can set boundaries for whatever is your lifestyle?
So I would like to share, a perspective. It will take 1 or 2 minutes.
Sure,
That
please. In the yeah,
I think, I faced this in one of my assignment, wherein, I was appreciated a lot for all my efforts, for my hard work and my knowledge. And then, I was getting more and more work,
mm,
related and not related as well.
okay.
So I took that because I felt that, I'm getting a lot of appreciations, a lot of recognitions. Let's do it. You cannot say no if you are being appreciated. You getting my
Mm,
point? So
yes.
I didn't say no, and the result was I was burned out after some time. I was not able to perform and not able to process anything. There was a time like that. So I think, what I have learned from that episode is that, uh, you know, just for the sake of, that you will be appreciated for something, does not mean that, you should cross your boundaries. And because it will not last for long,
Yeah,
it will be a short term kind of thing.
absolutely.
So, yes, yes.
Yeah, and you also said something very interesting. Okay. You mentioned when I'm appreciated, I can't say no. So that is a conditioning.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Hmm? That's a
yes.
belief.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when such things come in, you can ask yourself, said who? Okay.
Mm,
And what would happen when you say no, even when you're appreciated? So that counter questions can make your subconscious mind to think. Today in the session, if you have observed, throughout the session, I've asked a lot of questions. That is because the subconscious mind will think when you're asking it questions. You can do that questioning to yourself also using the self-talk.
mm, correct.
And that's the reason I've
That's
also
quite.
mentioned set healthy boundaries to protect your energy.
Hmm.
Sorry,
This
you were
all
saying
is
something.
quite.
Go ahead.
No, no. I'm saying this all is quite profound. And
Absolutely.
yes, yes.
Mhm. All right. Okay. So being mindful of the time, I'm gonna go to the last leg of the session. These are some of the questions which I would like to leave you with. So you can reflect on them. You can write about them if you want, or you can just ponder on them. And I'm sure it'll help you to have an action plan how to stay in that zone of positive optimism because life is going to throw challenges at you. Life is going to be up and down. It is going to be a roller coaster ride. But yet, how do you handle it in the state of positive optimism? These questions can definitely support you. Let me read them quickly. So, think of a recent challenge you faced and how did you respond? Now that you know the concept of positive optimism, how differently your optimistic version would have handled that situation? That is one role play which you can have in your mind. And what is that one small change you can make starting today to cultivate a more positive outlook? It can be as simple as writing gratitude or thinking gratitude or saying thank you to your parents. Or what else it is? Is it setting boundaries or is it the first one? What was the first point? We saw three ways, right? To cultivate optimism. What was the first one? Do you remember? That was the NLP tool. It was about the choice of words. Okay. All right. Now, the third question is who in your life inspires optimism in you? And how can you be that person for someone else? Because for me, it is one of my friends. Once in 2 weeks, we meet and I get completely recharged to cruise through the next few weeks. So can you be that kind of person for someone else also in your life? So that will also help you to access positive optimism and stay in that zone for a longer time. So these reflective questions needs more time. When Shabana shares this with you, you can write it down or you can just ponder on it. Is that okay to do?
Yes, sure. And thank you so much for this session.
You're welcome. And I also wanted to share this quote with you. Be happy, not because everything is good, but because you can see the good in everything. And these are the three things: self-talk, gratitude, and boundaries. In self-talk, I gave you a tool called transformation vocabulary. And I'm going to pause by. Let's spend 1 minute on this. What is your key takeaway from today's session? 1 point from each one, and then we will say tata bye. Yeah.
So for me, I said it already. It's the gratitude I'm
Yes.
going to express.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
How about the others? Let me stop screen sharing so I can see everybody.
Key takeaway is gratitude and positive optimism. If you don't mind, can you just repeat what are the three things?
Yes, the first one was transformational vocabulary, where I was saying in self-talk, if you use a negative word, how you can replace it with another word so that it helps you to break that loop of negative thinking. The second one was gratitude, and the third one was about this one. I also forgot.
So
What is it,
self-talk,
Bhupal? Boundaries, right? Yeah.
so self-talk,
The third one
gratitude,
was the
and
boundaries.
boundaries.
Yeah, the third one was
Maybe
boundaries. The first one
you
was
can
self-talk. Yeah.
you can do a continuation of this.
I can.
Thank
I would
you.
love to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good night.
Okay. Good night. All right. With that note, I'll pass it on to Shabana. Thank you so much, everyone. Ram Prasad sir was also there for listening to me. Over to Shabana.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It was really a wonderful talk. And it's a good reminder that to be mindful of self-talk, being grateful, and also setting our boundaries. So thank you,
Absolutely.
everyone. See you again tomorrow then. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Okay. Thank you, Shabana.